Today we're talking pseudonyms. This one's going out to you, Karina. I'm Mike Quackenbush. This is Till We Make It. And today on the program, I want to talk about the use of pseudonyms in professional wrestling, which is a commonplace practice. The vast majority of professional wrestlers that I know and interact with all have pseudonyms, names that they chose for themselves, a professional alias that they use, or ring name that takes the place of their legal name. In fact, I think it's quite rare that you come across anybody that uses their given name anymore in professional wrestling. One of my students, Drew Gulak, may be the only example that immediately springs to mind. That's what they call him when he's on SmackDown, and that's what it says on his birth certificate. So I want to tackle this topic from two perspectives. Number one is, what about when you meet somebody in person? You're shaking their hand in the locker room. I would listen closely to how they identify themselves. And of course, anybody that's got good wrestling etiquette knows you gotta say your name when you're meeting somebody. You've got to introduce yourself properly. Even relatively big stars do not take for granted that you know their name. And it's always a good practice to repeat your name. Don't take for granted that people remember you from the last time that you interacted. So make sure that you state your name. But if for any reason you are meeting someone who does not state their name at the top, I would ask, what do you like to be called? Because some people do want to be called by their pseudonym, by the name they choose for wrestling. Other people don't. They would rather you just call them by their given name. But it's important that you suss that out as quickly as possible when you're interacting with someone personally. I employ roughly the same technique when I'm speaking to someone on the phone for the very first time. I'll never forget the first time I needed to speak to Jerry Lawler. I had to ask, what do you like to be called? Do people call you Mr. Lawler? Do you like Jerry? And he said, everyone calls me King. But if I hadn't asked that, I would never have had the chance to establish a more familiar relationship. I wouldn't have known. Everyone calls him King, and I think he kind of likes it. And then, of course, there was the much more common scenario where you're interacting with someone via email.
I'm trying to make a YouTube video here, guys. Seriously. Do you mind?
My personal rule of thumb when interacting with someone for the very first time via email or online is to always use their stage name. Even if I've gone to the trouble of looking at their Wikipedia and finding out what their legal name is, always use their stage name. That is going to be most comfortable and it seems the least presumptuous. And a couple helpful tips if you are going to be communicating with someone and want to be clear about differentiating between what your legal or given name might be and your stage name, your persona. Use expressions like known professionally as, which is sometimes abbreviated KPA, known professionally as. This is a slightly more professional take on AKA, also known as, which denotes an alias. It's a way of letting them know, hey, this is my legal or given name, but I am known professionally by this other name. Here is this ring name or stage name that I have chosen for myself, and I do business as, or am known professionally as this other thing. You may recall that we made a video previously about what goes on your wrestling resume or into your demo package, and the way in which you're going to specify certain kinds of information and data about yourself, like your legal name, so that you never end up with a plane ticket that's been purchased using your stage name. And you can check that out, it's got related information. But don't ever feel weird when interacting with someone else in the world of professional wrestling about just stating very clearly, hi, I am so-and-so, known professionally by this name. It is a common practice, and more people than not in the world of professional wrestling do go by an alias. So have that professional courtesy and don't feel any kind of way about it. I hope that today's video was useful to you, and if so, consider subscribing. Don't forget to like and leave comments below, because it was a suggestion from a viewer just like you that resulted in today's video. And we got lots of videos to make, so I need your suggestions.